All right,
Looks
I think we're
looks
live.
like
We're live, everybody. Now it says it's starting soon again. Oh,
I switched it back up. Yeah. So I don't know what I'm doing.
Hey, everybody.
hey,
Well,
How
it's
are
good to
people?
be back again.
Yeah, another Tuesday, another stream. Good to be here. Ready to talk about our favorite thing,
Yeah, man.
miniature hobby stuff.
just love the hobby.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Box. Nice to see you here.
Yeah, good
Yeah,
to
hey,
have
Box.
you again.
So I guess we have a bunch of stuff to talk about tonight. Most of it's like hobby related, of like the stuff we're working on, but we'll probably also spend a bunch of time talking about some of the new Sister Battle stuff that we now have a few more pictures of some of the stuff, and we have a better sense of what's actually coming in that army deal.
Yeah, no, but I think we can talk briefly about some of the stuff. I mean, ultimately, I'm excited to do more of a deep dive into some of that stuff when maybe some of these models are released and such, and maybe record like an episode of the podcast or something with you, Vox, perhaps maybe even some other people, and be able to sort of evaluate how they sort of change the Games Workshop lineup and what sort of opportunities they will provide. A little bit like, I mean, we didn't maybe do the best job of this, but when the Primaris were released, we had like a post kind of on our blog talking about, how the Primaris compared to some of the other Space Marines and stuff out there, scale wise, what might be done with them and such. And I feel it would be neat to do that, but on a bigger scale, because the Sisters of Battle have been a long time in coming, and I think there's kind of a lot at stake with the release in the context of it's a major release, something that's been highly anticipated, but then also the opportunity to add a host of new female models into the Games Workshop range, and kind of the main miniature company, like miniature figure company in the world, Games Workshop, kind of sort of showing how this could be done. And hopefully it's done with respect, and they're different body types, different ages, and a lot of variety and such, and not just a bunch of pinup girls. And I mean, it already looks like promising towards that end with the newer design Sisters of Repentia, as well as the Arco-flagellants, which I guess we'll talk about a little bit. But with all that rambling aside, I think, it'll be something that I think it'll be worthwhile to go into some real depth when they're actually here. But until that point, we can just sort of speculate and talk based on the few pictures.
Hey, Eli, nice to have you here tonight.
Eli's here too.
Yeah, good to have you here.
All right, so I guess we can get on with our first hobby hoedown section.
Mm-hmm.
I thought we'd switch it up a little and start talking about what you're working on, Eric, first.
Yeah, no, it's been somewhat productive. Like, I mean, I feel for the last couple of weeks I've been talking at least briefly how I've been working on some of these miniatures, Kickstart miniatures that Anna from Gardens of Hecate had produced. And I finally, I think, pretty much finished one of them. I think there's a picture up on the screen there. And I mean, it was relatively quick. But like, it was fun just to be kind of try some different things, and a lot of it was done, at least initially, with some like contrast paints to get some of the initial definition there, but then going in and deepening the shadows and things like that. And I don't know, I think I'm pretty happy with how it ultimately turned out. Like, and I think at least some of the contrast paints are fairly helpful to like quickly start a model and like get down a primary coat and that does a little bit to kind of darken in the shadows, bring up the highlights and such. But then you can go in and sort of add to that.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly I know that Adam, you are a little bit more methodical and careful with stuff that probably not super useful to you, but
I don't know. I think they'll be helpful in their own ways. It's almost like it's just another one of GW's technical paints, and depending on like what you're using, they could like add some kind of neat effects and stuff. And sort of as you were saying, in some regards, could be used as like a foundation to sort of loosely define where
it was. I found that their Black Templar was really nice to like start painting the bases, since it kind of works like a wash, but it's so pigmented. You can really easily get a base coat on and cover everything like really nicely, and it kind of gets some color modulation in there too.
Yeah.
And then you can build it up with other colors rather than like having to go and like, oh, I didn't get into these little crevices and stuff like it. So I think it kind of works well for that.
Yeah, that's cool.
And yeah, thanks. Yeah, I wanted to make some of it, Fox, to look kind of raw, and particularly the like. I mean, it looks a little. The main body of the creature looks perhaps a little shinier than maybe it does in person. But the area kind of behind the skull and the neck region, wasn't really entirely sure what all that was. But I ended up like diluting the flesh tear contrast paint like a lot with the contrast media, and then like painted it over. I guess it's their Wraithbone primer, and like it ended up being like a really glossy look that I kind of wanted to make it look sort of like raw, bloody, fleshy cartilage bone type stuff.
The one thing that you could do is to me it sort of looks like maybe there's like a thin fleshy film over this mass of like bone, so you could paint like little blood vessels and stuff through that.
That's true. Yeah, because I also sort of thought it could have been like some sort of biofilm or something. But
that could be cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a relatively neat effect. I mean, admittedly, since it's it's a metal model, I'm probably gonna varnish it, do like a matte varnish. So I'll probably have to go back in and pick out regions that I wanted them to have.
Yeah, you'll have to
shine and stuff.
You'll have to reapply some varnishes and stuff.
But that's something I want to go back and kind of finalize that when I paint some of the other models to get them more consistent. So I'm just kind of calling it finished for the time being.
Yeah, it looks cool.
But yeah, so I did that. I'm starting on the next little tiny walking skull with like a hat.
Yeah. That's great.
I haven't really done much with it, but I mean, honestly, all I did thus far was use their, like, I think Skeleton Horde contrast paint, their Flesh Tear contrast paint, and their black. And
I think that skull looks pretty good as it is.
But so I plan to go in, probably add more of the skeleton, like less dilute, because it was diluted a bunch. Maybe add some more to darken some regions, and then go in with their darker Cygor brown contrast thing to darken some regions. Then, I don't know, add some other stuff to just add extra definition and contrast to stuff.
Yeah.
Does it have an eyeball in there?
Looks like
the one side, which is looking at, has like an eyeball. The other one, it's just an empty socket.
Now, is that a horse head or a bull head?
I don't know my skulls.
I don't know my skulls either.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it doesn't matter.
It's cute.
It's right in line for Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming.
Christmas is here.
I guess
almost.
I think you've also been working on some of like the little bone trees that
Helge,
yeah.
It could be a sheep skull. Yeah, yeah, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I got in contact with him and kind of ordered a whole set of these little bone trees that just arrived yesterday. So I've been working on them, and like they're pretty cool. They'll take a little. The picture that you have there is before I really did anything with them, and they certainly will take a little bit of effort to clean up. And like I've been kind of working on that because they were done in like a single piece mold, which is actually pretty nice because there are less like mold lines and stuff like that. The molds were pretty well done and came out nicely. The only thing, it was clear the molds and the like casting wasn't like done in a pressure chamber, so there are some bubbles here and there, and in addition to which was probably some bubbles in the silicone results in like little tiny spheres all over the model, or parts of the model. But a lot of it you can just, even with your finger, just kind of brush and break off. So I've been kind of carefully going over it and looking at those things. Probably the most tedious are those like little bubbles, like I was talking about, show up a lot in the little tiny shrines there. So like I feel you have to kind of go in there and kind of break it off and work at it. Admittedly, since they're like pieces of terrain, I don't think it matters quite as much that they're perfect or something. But I found the little balls of resin, since they're so like spherical and perfect looking, it looks unnatural. Whereas some of like just the bubbles, you can just kind of break up a little bit and it can just look like gravel or something. But I think the other ones, it's better if you get them out of there.
Yeah, so again, those like little spheres that you're talking about that are sort of like coating parts of the models, those are largely arise like if you pour your own mold. If there are any air bubbles like rest in the silicon or in the rubber that you're pouring to make the mold, if there are any air bubbles kind of like focused around the surface of your model, when it hardens, if they're close enough to the surface, some of the resin that you inject into the mold will sometimes make their way into those little, essentially tiny air pockets, and then your model will be like carpeted in these tiny little resin spheres. It's really,
we certainly had problems with that.
yeah, like if you're casting like small detailed miniatures and stuff, it can be a huge problem, and yeah, it can ruin a lot of stuff. But yeah, in this case, as you were saying, Eric, a lot of it, it's pretty easy. They're pretty easy to remove, or in some cases, they can kind of, if they're small enough, can kind of just be left alone or like modified a little.
Yeah, so I'm excited. Like I'm gonna keep working to kind of clean them up and such. Then I hope to be able to try to paint them up in a kind of a relatively quick way, and then maybe write up a post about it. But ultimately, in just a preliminary way, I would say if anyone was kind of interested in it, I feel they're worth getting, or at least one or two. Just I feel they'll work well with Warcry or anything, and they're nice, solid pieces of terrain. Like so, they're nice. They're worth the investment, and to support like fellow hobbyists trying to kind of develop their own style and maybe start up sort of a little company per se to get out the work they're doing. So I think it's worth it.
Yeah, they're cool.
But yeah, a good product, and I'm happy to have them, and they've been fun to work with. Now I just have to figure out how I want to paint them.
Just have to make sure you do. Like I feel that what looks to me to be a pain, like I think maybe you'll need to get like a belt sander or something to like try and flatten the bottom of them.
Yeah, that would help. Like,
I feel
I
that's
don't,
what I
or
would do.
might be able to get some large files or something.
I
I mean,
don't.
they aren't. But that'll
Large
be a
files
pain.
is gonna. It'll be hard to get it actually flat.
Yeah. And they're sort of flat now, but yeah,
Or you could
I
get
don't know.
like like almost like a brick of wood and wrap
Yeah, and put
sandpaper
that. Yeah,
around it.
yeah.
And I don't know.
I don't know. I'll have to think about it.
Sorry, Vox, we don't know the names of any of the teeth.
Not
For
anymore.
skulls. The little that I just now did a Google image search, I think maybe it's a horse skull, but I would have to spend more time looking, because to the untrained eye, they all look a little bit the same.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can't find a belt sander, Eric, which you should be able to, but if you can't, block of wood with sandpaper on it would probably work pretty well too.
What are the? Don't they? Not a belt sander, but don't they also make one that it just sort of It's a similar thing, but it's just on like a little.
Like a hand sander, like an electric hand
Yeah.
sander. Or what I don't know what they actually call them.
Yeah, because I feel something like that would work too.
I know, like our father has one that he's used on some of his like woodworking projects.
Mm-hmm.
Eli says a random orbital sander.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So that's what I would do. Eric, this can be an excuse to get one, and then you'll never use it again.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
you might use it again.
it's just more shit to have.
Yeah, but
well, so I mean that brings up the point. Like, if I would get one, what would I get? Like, what's the favorite brand? Chat, DeWalt, Milwaukee, Makita. What would you prefer?
Certainly not Black and Decker.
Yeah.
No. Well, I think whoever owns Black and Decker owns DeWalt.
right?
Well,
Yeah.
I feel like you could use a powered thing pretty easily. I don't. The things are big enough that I wouldn't be that worried about taking off too much of the bottom. But it might be worth just trying by hand initially, and then after that works like shit.
So Volk, so the incisors are like your front teeth that are the thinner ones for like tearing stuff, I guess, and the ones towards the back are flatter and for mastication and grind and stuff, I guess.
Actually, I'll be back, people.
I don't know if anybody has kept up with kind of the lore that Anna has written for some of those models that she made. So the first model there painted the Blood Fiend, that bipedal horse head thing, was, I think the lore she had for that was that it was like a horse that was a war horse that was sustained with eating meat. And that's kind of the lore behind it. She just recently sculpted, I think, a greater Blood Fiend, which actually has a more traditional horse body, but a long tail and the same head. It's cool. So,
cool.
Eating meat, horses eating meat.
Why not?
Yeah.
Well, I guess we could probably move on. Like, what is Adam? Have you been doing stuff?
I'm always doing the same thing nowadays. It's working on the ogre.
Yep.
Quick
conversion corner that was.
Yeah, it was a failed conversion corner, I feel, because it's still not done. But he's almost done. I started working on sculpting boots on him, but they're still not ready. I filled in more of the front of his armor plating. I also gave him a lot more like equipment and stuff. Like he has some different he has like a sidearm, like some other pouches and random shit.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, so he's
Taking a pretty cool model and making it cooler.
That was what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel he'll be finished pretty soon, and then I can get on
Early
with
next
it.
month.
No, it's gonna be this month.
That's
Fucking
good.
better be.
Yeah, well, yes, I mean, it's good it's coming along.
Yeah.
Good it's coming along.
Decided on the boots.
Yeah.
Or are you going to paint him then, Adam?
Yeah, like I'm hoping I'll paint him along with some of the other Sister Sigmar stuff, and then call them done.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I really need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to move on. Well, Greg, how about you?
I have lots of stuff to talk about today, which is unusual. I guess the first thing I say, Adam, the shirt you're wearing, what is that shirt?
Oh, it's a Tom Waits shirt.
I'm sure you're all here familiar with Tom Waits, but the shirt was actually designed by Dylan Walker, the singer from the grindcore band Fool of Hell. And Dylan's a pretty cool dude. He does a lot of screen printing on his free time, and if there's a shirt that he thinks that he wants that doesn't exist, he'll just make said shirt. And he thought that he couldn't find a Tom Waits shirt, so he made one.
Everything goes to hell.
Yeah, inspired off of that song. And he then sells the shirt, or he does a limited print of those shirts, and on his Instagram account asks if anybody wants them, and then he'll give him some money for it and he'll send it to you. So all of you should follow him. I'm gonna post his handle in the chat. The Vault of Heaven. Though take note that his handle, there's 2 E's in the, and that's legitimately, there are legitimately 2 E's in the Vault of Heaven. I don't know, maybe a year ago he made a pretty bitchin' Enya t-shirt.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sail away.
Yeah, Enya.
That,
But yeah, he's a cool dude. You should follow him. And every once in a while he makes cool shirts that you could buy. And that Tom Waits one was the most recent. But other things to talk about, I guess one thing for an artist, there's an artist named Jeffrey Allen Love, that he's an author and an artist, and he has 2 books, and I'm holding it up to me talking, but you probably can't see that. His second book is called The Thousand Demon Tree, which is a graphic novel, a wordless graphic novel. It's maybe 60 or 70 pages, not a short or a very short read.
Hold it up a little higher, it's kind of in there, but you can't see the title.
Start talking again.
Yeah, well, I'm going to stop holding it up. You can just look at what's on Adam's screen. But yeah, so he's an illustrator, and he largely illustrates in black and white. And his second book, called The Thousand Demon Tree, is a graphic novel about some guy finding a sword and then going to fight some big demon tree thing. Really neat, evocative. I feel like his artwork is a little bit of a combination of Mike Mignola stylistic touches, and then also I'm reminded a little bit of Wayne England with particularly some of the faces of the characters that he does. But so The Thousand Demon Tree is a really cool graphic novel. It does a good job of using space and color and texture, all of the stuff very evocative. And I feel it's the sort of thing you could read multiple times and always get or find some new detail from it.
Yeah, it was at the San Diego Comic-Con. That's cool.
Been following on Instagram for a while. He just launched a Kickstarter for his third book. What's it called? The Mountain of Smoke, which, if you're interested, you could look into that. But his art's great. The Thousand Demon Tree is really cool. I feel anybody that's into the work that we do would probably like Jeffrey Allen Love's stuff.
Yeah, it looks really neat.
Check that out.
Looks super creepy too.
Yeah. And I guess I could also talk about music. So this past week, I've been listening to a bunch of lo-fi emo bands.
Whoa, Greg. Whoa.
The main one being a band called Camping in Alaska. And I found Camping in Alaska from some YouTube algorithms. I was listening to maybe the Baltimore band Have Mercy, and a YouTube algorithm found a song by Camping in Alaska called Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 4, which is named after one of the Dragon Ball Z fighting games. I don't know why they called it that, because the song doesn't seem to have anything to do with that. But the whole band, Camping in Alaska, has a very apathetic feel to them. It kind of sounds like nobody's really taking themselves too seriously, which the name of that first song that I heard about them, the Dragon Ball Z song, I think kind of gives that impression. They only have one full-length album. It's called Please Be Nice, and the album cover for that's kind of a pathetic picture of, which I think it's the singer, like maybe about to hurl a skateboard against the wall with Please Be Nice spray painted on it. And the second track on that album is probably the one that I listen to the most. It's called Why Can't I Be Snowing? And as it turns out, Snowing is another lo-fi emo band that they're actually from the Lehigh Valley, which is about 2 hours north of where the three of us grew up. And the one Camping in Alaska song called Why Can't I Be Snowing, he talks about some songs by Snowing, and the singer opines, why can't he be like that band, and why don't people actually like his songs? And the singing's kind of bad, and that kind of just makes it all the more endearing. So I think it's great. You should all look into it. Why Can't I Be Snowing? And the snowing song that they specifically reference in Why Can't I Be Snowing is called Pump Fake. And that's a great song too. So maybe I'll just leave it at that, but apathetic, poorly recorded emo music.
Fuck this, fuck everything.
Yeah, that's one of the lines. Fuck this, fuck everything. Great. Well, and I guess if we're looking at the track list of Please Be Nice, it also gives indication of how they don't take themselves very seriously. It's one of the songs is called See You in the Ball Pit.
Yeah, that's something else.
listen to the song, it doesn't seem to have anything to do with ball pits. So, well, regardless, I'll stop talking about
Take
them.
it for what it's worth.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess with that, do we want to start making fun of models?
It's probably about high time we do start.
Yeah. We're not getting any younger.
I guess we have to talk about the Sisters of Battle, all right? That's the big thing
might
to
as
talk
well.
about.
Yeah, no, because I feel like on Reddit or Imgur or something, some leaks went up showing bad pictures of this army box that they had shown before, and I think it prompted them to like, well, fuck, we need to put up a new sister bulletin to show better pictures of that. So they did. And that's, what we can see here. So now I feel we finally, there were some like kind of pictures of it and things you could kind of get a sense from some of their YouTube video, little trailers and whatnot. But now they just straight up have a picture of what's going to be, or like at least the models that are going to be in the box, along with, I think, the codex and I don't know, maybe some other stuff. Which, I don't know if they showed the sprues there.
No, I mean, I'm just looking at the picture here where they show like what I believe are all the contents of the box in terms of the models.
Man, the Seraphim models, they're really high up in the ground. From the ground. Like,
yeah, they really are.
Fuck a duck, that would be hard to store. Damn,
Yeah,
I mean, maybe they'll detach.
It's nice since they're like floating and flying, like they're not squatting.
That's true. And it's interesting that I feel like a lot of the more recent flying models, they've always tried to make them like standing on something, or like there be some long flowy parchment that actually touches the ground, which they didn't do that here.
Yeah, it's interesting that they decide just not to do it at all. I feel maybe it has resulted in some slightly more natural looking models. And I think towards that end, the fact that they have guns and such and not like just all swords, maybe it has resulted in perhaps slightly more natural poses. I mean, admittedly, like diving down to attack somebody with a chainsword from like with a jet propelled backpack. I don't know how you could ever make that look natural. Like, I don't know what that would look like. You know what I mean? So that's maybe a little bit unfair of me to complain about that stuff. But regardless, I feel these, since they're just jumping around shooting stuff, like it might not matter as much. Or they have more freedom to make things that are less awkward.
Yeah, I mean, overall, it looks pretty good. Like, the one thing this is probably going to be a really expensive box set, right? Because I think it also comes with a codex.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see because it's interesting. I feel a lot of army boxes in the past, if they existed, would, unless they were like a starter box, like Dark Imperium or Shadow Spear, if they were like just an army box or even some of the other kind of campaign associated things, they would just incorporate a host of their normal plastic kits, maybe add a new character model or something like that, and then end up selling it at a fairly nice discount. Although,
I mean, if we're looking at the models, like the normal sisters, there are 3 main sculpts that are all like identical. It's where you can change their heads. And then there's one holding a Stormbolter, one holding a flamethrower, the leader or the sergeant or whatever you want to call it, and then the one holding the banner. So if you don't count the like special weapons and leaders and stuff, there are only 3 different poses.
Yeah, so that I think is the interesting thing. So this is clearly not like
Yeah.
just putting the multi-part plastic
No.
kits that for most of these I assume will come out.
Yeah.
So maybe that means they will price it more aggressively. Like it would be neat if it was something
Yeah.
more like the Shadow Spear, one of those sorts of things, and it was like less than $150. But
Yeah,
I
because
don't know.
then like
Since
they're
it's
showing the like sister or Pentia models, like they're aside from
two,
the one with the whips to lead them, you get 4 of them, 2 of which look to be the same sculpt. So there are 3 different models. Then they have
yeah,
pictures of the Arco-flagellants, and there are 3 models, but 2 of them are different.
yeah, I feel it's kind of an
And then
odd thing to
the
do.
Seraphim, there's the squad leader, and then there are 2 other sculpts. So like it's very limited, and I mean not
It's,
very limited, but it is.
I mean,
Limited
a
a
lot of them
little.
it looks like they're the same sculpt, but they give different heads or something. But it is kind of weird, that, like even how they position them in this picture. It seems like they didn't make a huge amount of effort to hide the fact
Yeah.
that.
Lifeboat, nice to see you here. But you did
Yeah.
not make these. I would question if you ever made anything. Did
I
you,
think he
Lifeboat?
just made it
Do you
on
think-
time, like to be here.
That was
Glad
what
to
I
have
said.
you here, Lifeboat.
That's probably true.
But yeah,
Sorry
I
for
don't know.
putting you
It's
down,
interesting
Lifeboat.
that for something that has taken them so long to make this, re-envision it, it's sort of weird that right off the gate that they would show you something that like there are so many obvious duplicates. Even though it looks like in general they're nice, but like why they would do that, and like even the Arco-flagellants, which we'll probably get into it a little bit here, there are only 2 of them. And like there's like a different head to place on. I mean, they're good and such, but I feel like it takes away a little bit of the visual impact when you see that there are all these duplicates. And also then like the normal sisters here, like there's that banner model which we talked about at length in the past about how the banner is way too big, and it
The biggest thing are how big those skulls are in the
yeah.
banner. They're so huge. They're not human skulls, and I don't even think they're Space Marine skulls.
Well, the Sisters Repentia, these models, are these the same models that they had revealed earlier? Or
I don't think
did they?
so.
I mean, I think some of them could be, but so maybe the ones they revealed earlier were like the actual multi-part ones, or the more multi-part ones. They'll clearly not be.
These ones, I think, they don't look quite as nice. They're like poses, particularly for the one, look very similar to the old, awful looking
The
ones.
one holding it up in the air is
Yeah.
very reminiscent to the old terrible models.
But I mean, these still look. I think they look good.
Substantially better
We
than
can't
the
see
old.
them in this picture though.
No, not really. Well, so okay, well, actually, they do. They give you data cards in this 12 dice, a transfer. Wait, one Warhammer 40k core rules booklet. I guess that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it just don't mean anything. Well, are the people listening to this, are people excited about this? Like, do you think you will get this? It will depend on the price.
I'm sort of surprised there are so many duplicates in it. I didn't necessarily.
I'll buy it.
I didn't necessarily think that it would be as duplicate heavy as it is. Because I mean, like the Shadows pair box and the Dark Imperium box, they had duplicates and stuff, but it didn't. I guess didn't seem quite as
Obvious.
Yeah. I mean, this they're trying to sort of hide it by just having one with a helmet and one without a helmet.
But then they have them like the duplicates right next to each other.
Well, not all of them.
A lot of them. I mean, I guess with so few models, it's just gonna have to happen. But I don't know. It's interesting.
Lifeboat, yeah, I can see. If I were in your position, I wouldn't get it either.
Yeah, well,
Fox
they
says,
won't
my
help you.
girlfriend wants to get it for my birthday.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll probably get it because
God,
I'll buy
that'll
it.
be expensive in Australia. Or it probably will, because everything's more expensive in Australia.
I mean, I'll see what'll happen.
Unfortunately.
We'll get it, and then maybe I will convert 2 or 3 models from the entire contents of the box, and then I'll just put them in a bigger box to sit there.
Well, you can assemble one just as a reference model.
That's true. That's what I should do.
Then you'll convert some, and yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see. But maybe let's talk about the Arco-flagellants, because this was like the actual new thing, and also sort of suggesting that they're going to go back and maybe redesign some of the creepier, weird elements that I've always sort of associated with the Inquisitor RPG.
Yeah.
And not necessarily just with the Sisters of Battle. And I think they even have a picture below this of the old Damien 686 or whatever it was from the Inquisitor game that like was so cool.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think these models, they look great.
But yeah, I love that all Arco-flagellant 54 millimeter model. Like, I don't know, that I feel goes back to how cool the Inquisitor game was and how it added so much depth to the universe as a whole, adding like real ideology to the different factions of the Imperium and all that stuff, and coming up with all these crazy inventions and whatnot. And I think the Arco-flagellants were one of my favorite sort of things. And then I think it was with the Witch Hunter Codex was released way back when, and they made some 40K scale models, and they were pretty much horrible. The models, like, they were not good. And it's nice to see them going back and creating these again, and like, even though there are really only 2 of them, they look good, I think, overall. They didn't... Well, in some sense, they're reminiscent a little bit of those models in... What's it called? The Blackstone Fortress. But when those models look dumb... What are they called? The Negavolt cultists? They look dumb with all this bulky shit hanging off the back of them and whatnot.
Holy
These
shit, guys, I just brought up pictures of the old Arco-flagellant models. They look miserably bad. Like, I didn't remember they looked this bad. And like the pictures.
Well, hey, this is cool. There are only 2 of them too.
Yeah, and the pictures they have them on the website, they're painted really poorly. They look awful.
Like the like robes, or like the robes and the masks over their faces literally look like someone just took like green stuff, sculpted it, and like
and then press an X-Acto knife into it to make the Inquisitor eye cut in the cloth. Yeah, it doesn't look good.
Yeah, those are bad. Well, they're on last chance to buy, so rush up and get them, people.
God, they're so awful. I can't even...
You'll never be able to get them again.
So
which is good.
Order them now.
It's your duty to get them. I can't believe they're not... Why aren't they sold out now?
Yeah, they're awful.
I doubt anyone has much nostalgia for these crappy
these
models.
new ones are like so much better, it's almost a crime. Like, these ones actually look like they're actually like moving and running.
It's nice that they have sort of a dynamic pose to them, but they don't look really awkward. Heck, they're not even squatting or wide leg
Yeah,
pose
no, they look
or
good.
something. I mean,
They
people
look
often
good.
tell us that the squatting pose is to make the models look more dynamic, and I don't see how that could be really. But these aren't doing that, so that's a strong.
So the female one, or the one that's supposed to be female with the long stride running, for whatever reason, it really reminds me of the movie Tetsuo the Iron Man. I don't know if any of you have ever seen Tetsuo the Iron Man. It's a Japanese black and white film from the 80s by Shinya Tsukamoto, I believe his name is. It's kind of a black and white cyberpunk film about some guy who gets some piece of metal jammed in him, and then he starts transforming into some metal monstrosity.
Like you often do.
Yeah. And it's been a long time since I've seen it, but some dude hits someone with a car, and then they throw the dead person maybe in a forest or something, and then the dude who hit the guy in the car starts to transform into this metal monstrosity. And at the end of the film, the guy, once he's completely transformed into this metal horror thing, like, is zooming around, almost like roller skating around the city super fast, and it's really awkward. And that's what that reminds me of.
Box says the old ones are posed like one of those two balloon man at a used car store. Wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man.
Yeah, wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man.
Yeah, so bad.
Or just raise the roof.
Oh yeah, there's a picture from the film. From the Iron Man. And yeah, they're like skating around on who knows what.
What's left of his feet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so I don't know. It's cool. Like, and it'll be neat to see if they release like another. Well, so that's the curious thing. Like, they're almost certainly for all of these things: the Seraphim, the Normal Sisters, the Repentia, the Arco-flagellants. They're going to release a more multi-part sort of box, and
Yeah.
I sure hope. I hope they do that, but I hope they aren't worse than these. Because
Yeah.
Games Workshop recently anyway, has this huge tendency to release a box set like this, then introduce some new models or concepts, but they're in more monopose situations, and then they later release the more varied kit, like the new Eliminators or the Vanguard models and whatnot.
All the
And they're just a lot
stuff.
worse with just terrible poses and bad looking options. And like hell, even just the Dark Imperium box, which first introduced the Primaris Marines, they're posed pretty well, look pretty nice. And then they released just the normal plastic box for the Intercessors, and pretty much all of them have terrible poses, and you have to like struggle to get anything that looks moderately decent.
Yeah, you really just have to see them and experience it for yourself to understand what we're trying to tell you, because they're just.
And a lot of it is exacerbated by how large and terrible their
bolt
rifles look.
Yeah.
Such that it, like, maybe if they were a more reasonable size, some of the poses like could kind of work, but like, yeah. I mean, so, and also for those boxes, they only really have like 5 different poses, and they just duplicate the sprues, such that you're really a lot more limited than you would think.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing, particularly when like it's clear that the sculptors had good sense with some of the initial poses, but then it's just like, damn, we need to make more of these. Like, let's just rush them out.
Or like, yeah, they botched the poses. I think the worst is where they have the Primaris, the ones with like the plasma cannon type things.
Oh yeah, the what are they called?
I don't remember what they're called. They are like, to me, from what I saw, they're almost unusable. And really, when you compare them to the ones in the Dark Imperium box set, they just don't compare. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, the Hellblasters. The Hellblasters.
Yeah.
They're so terrible.
They're terrible. I guess they finally showed a better picture of like the sister that I guess like whips and goads on, like the sister Arpentia. She looks pretty good. She has 2 huge whips. But I don't necessarily love the whips, but they look fine.
They'll be cool because they'll break off immediately.
Yeah, probably.
It'll be interesting to see what they do for the background lore stuff. Like, aren't the sisters Repentia like trying to repent for crimes that they think they committed that may not be much of crimes at all?
Yeah, they themselves decide that they want to repent for these things. So, like, if they have voluntarily put themselves into this, why would they need somebody whipping them forward when, like, they are there of their own?
For the Arco-flagellants.
Maybe.
Doesn't look like it, but I don't know. So she looks pretty good. She's really like bracing herself, getting in that whip action.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, yeah. So Vox, yeah, the Hellblasters, their guns are way too big, but it's not even just that. Well, also the ones in the Dark Imperium box, the guns are a little bit smaller, and they don't have all the stupid cords going to their backpacks and such, which was probably just done so they could mold them more easily for the kit. But it ended up being a boon because they look better that way. But the multi-part ones, they added those extra details and changed the backpacks. It's just force them into weird poses, and they're all lunging weird directions. And
so here I brought them up. Like, look at this one. Like, what in the fuck is he doing with his legs? And then, like, he's holding the rifle, like this big heavy shit. He's like, it's almost like he's holding it like close to his chest, like you would with like a small like carbine or like an assault rifle. Not. But like, look at that oh damn.
They're just so horrible.
And
yeah, actually, towards that end, the ones in the Dark Imperium, they had stalks. They were shorter. They didn't have all that dumb shit on the backpacks.
Yeah,
they were just so much
multi-part ones, yeah, they removed the stalks. They added the extra cabling, which doesn't look better. And
there are multiple different variants of the plasma weapons. Some that don't have the shit going to their backpacks, which is better. Like, it's nice you had that option. But a while back I got some Primaris Marines to just see if I could quickly convert some Dark Angels, just to not spend a huge amount of time on it and just see what they would look like. And I was gonna buy Hellblasters, and I'm sure glad I didn't just buy them without looking at them, because I realized, like, holy shit, these are just too bad to buy, and I feel bad for anyone who would have purchased them.
And I feel you could make like 1 or 2 that were pretty good, but like most of the poses are like laughably bad.
Yeah, the one that's kind of running a little bit, and he's not the huge wide stance. Like, I think you could do something with them, but by and large, since there are only 5 pairs of legs and like 4 of them are terrible, Like it's not a good start. And
No.
all the weapons are terrible.
Yeah.
It's just so terrible.
Okay.
So terrible. When the Dark Imperium ones were good.
Yeah.
It's so weird that they did that.
Let's stop talking about them.
Yeah. I'm sorry. We went off on the tangent talking about them. It's just bad.
Yeah, so I think that the box looks pretty good. Most of the sisters look good. The leader of the Sister Battle Squad looks really bad. Like her pose is so awkward. Like there's not a good picture of it, but she's holding up a chainsword in a weird pose. And then that's not enough. That's not enough. She's also lifting one of her legs up, like resting it on a rock for some reason, and then she's holding her massive bolt rifle in one hand. It looks bad. It's a bad pose. It looks bad, but there's no redeeming that. I don't think. No.
Vox asked about you bring up the Hellblaster, the Dark Imperium ones, and I think I just pasted a picture of just the one photo of them. And I mean, admittedly, the Dark Imperium ones suffer from the wide stance thing, a bunch of them, but not all of them.
Well, the one in the center there, his wide stance is ridiculously bad. But the one kind of walking forward, they look a lot better. The weapons themselves are slightly smaller, more streamlined. They have a rudimentary stock.
The sort of charges or whatever are just sticking down. They're not sticking out to make the profile of the weapon larger. So I mean, it seems like it makes more sense.
They don't have extra shit hanging off their backpacks either.
Yeah, they look a lot better. And to me, yeah, the guns are smaller, they look better. In general, their poses, particularly the one that's sort of walking, looks better. And even the wide stance thing, I don't love, but you could sort of imagine maybe he's
so
bracing to fire it.
Since they have the little stalks on, the pseudo stalks, those sort of dictate how the arms can be positioned, and because of that, the arm positioning looks more natural.
Yeah, they don't have the broken wrist, the broken wrist styling that. Well, and it also balances the weapon more since there's more at the back end of it. They look better, whereas they don't look so top heavy.
Front heavy.
Yeah, because they just look. It's so much better composition. It's just, oh my god.
Yeah,
and for the ones I made, I shortened these a little bit, and I'm just counting them as plasma cannons. It's I feel they're a good size, if made a little bit smaller, to be a heavy weapon.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's shift away. But yeah, don't buy the Hellblasters.
If you want them, get the ones from Dark Imperium.
If you want them, ask Eli. He has lots, I think.
He probably does.
Well.
So I don't know. I think we've said most of what we wanted to about the sisters. I'm excited for them. I want to see more pictures of some of the stuff, but there's certainly a lot of stuff about them that I really like. There are also a lot of things about them I don't.
You need all your Hellblasters, Eli? That's impressive.
Yeah, so I'm excited for them. we have to wait and see how much the whole set's going to cost, but I imagine it's going to be a lot. And I feel for people like us, it would probably make more sense if we would just wait for them to release different sets of the individual shit, because I don't know.
But we won't.
But we
Won't
won't.
wait.
Yeah, they're doing this for suckers like us.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess we could talk a little bit about the
Psychic Awakening.
yeah, like they've started showing more of that. Like they showed what like the contents of the game are or whatever it is.
Blood and Phoenix, maybe?
Is it a game?
Oh, the Phoenix. I don't think it's really a game. It's just like a box set, 2 small armies. They give you a fold out of the 40k rules in like
It
a
says
little
within
book.
this box you will find 2 mighty armies comprising 25 Citadel miniatures ready to assemble and hurl straight into the fight. With all the rules you need to play and a dedicated narrative campaign to fight out, you'll find everything you need to do battle on the tabletop.
That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Does it have the things in that picture? So is there like
so.
I don't remember the name of the Eldar vehicles.
The
but,
Grav Tank and the Viper.
Are they?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
it seems like they are.
A dedicated narrative campaign sounds really cool.
So cool.
There's a picture of in one of the other posts about it with like the cover of the Psychic Awakening thing for the first book that this is about, called Phoenix Rising, that has
that's
the
cool.
Howling Banshee Phoenix Lord on there. It's like a pretty neat picture, and it does a good job showing you that, yeah, the Elder anatomy is not what you see in the models. Or maybe this is just wrong.
Well, I mean, the Phoenix Janzar or whatever his Phoenix Lord's name is, I think that's
She is
nicest model.
more, yeah, it is more reflective of that.
Best model in the set, I think. It's good. I mean, there are aspects of the game that I don't like the tassels on her glaive look dumb, but that's fine. They actually are showing some pictures of all like the sprues of both of the models. Yeah, I mean, looks fine. One thing that's also interesting, you can see like Drazar, the side of his head, like you can get a little more of a view of what's going on there.
What's going on is you should replace that head.
Probably.
Well, because as we talked at length last time, I think if you just give him a smaller head,
lengthen his torso.
Yeah, all those
That's
things.
what I think would be the most important thing to do.
Yeah.
The Howling Banshees, the plastic ones, they look pretty good. They're not like wildly exciting, I don't feel. Like, I sort of wish they had redesigned their pistols and swords and made them look a little different and not as big.
I feel unfortunately there's not much they could do to make the swords thinner or better, which is at the scale they are and them being durable, because they're not going to be durable.
No. The big thing is their pistols. They're too big. I don't like them at all. They are actually a little different, I think. The magazine is not out in the front like they used to be. It's like in their the grip of like the pistol grip that they're holding.
That's
So,
nice.
It's cool that they redesigned that a little bit, but I wish they had then just dialed it back a little bit and made it a little smaller. But I guess that's asking for too much.
I mean, it probably is smaller than it had been, though,
Yeah, it probably
because
is
of that
actually.
change. So that's something. But those swords look huge. But if you look at the sprues of it, it does kind of become apparent that they're really thin, and
They
people are going to be
yeah.
breaking them immediately.
I feel
Putting
like they
them,
wouldn't necessarily have to make them thinner, but if they were just a little smaller and shorter,
yeah,
then that would have been all they would have needed to do.
yeah.
They
I feel the X Arch or whatever with the two blades like really hits home how kind of ridiculous it looks.
yeah. They seeing more of the incubi. I like them. I feel overall I like them. They're like Jess Goodwin's original ones, but I think they look a little sleeker. Their poses are still a little questionable.
I kind of feel the blades that they have kind of necessitate them to look
Yeah,
weird in a way, which is what it is.
yeah.
They really need to fill up those 25 millimeter bases, or maybe it's 32. I don't know. It's important.
Hugely important. And then they.
Hey, I know something that we can talk about. Why don't we talk about Nick Trigedio's Untitled Goose Game Warhammer drawings?
It's a good call.
So our friend Nick Trigedio, or Cordal, I guess his Instagram handle is, for Inktober. So the notion that a lot of people try to draw a new drawing every day for October, that there's usually like some prompt for each day. He's not really following that, but he's been drawing some pictures off of Untitled Goose Game, which is a video game where you play an unnamed goose that you're given missions to go around and cause mischief, like
in a small England town,
like maybe take somebody's glasses or something. And Nick has been drawing pictures of the goose taking things from characters in the 41st millennium, and they've all been great.
Yeah, but the Untitled Goose Game, it's on the Switch. I don't know if it's yet on the PC or anything yet.
It's not on the PC yet.
But like, it's a delightful game. I just played it with my wife over the weekend, and like, it's hilarious. I mean, it's not a very long game, but it's like.
Did you finish it?
I finished it.
Okay.
Like, it's delightful, and I feel it's kind of taken the video game world by storm. But it's hilarious. You're just an asshole goose.
Yeah, it goes around and steals shit from people.
And just utterly terrorizes everybody. Like it's great. But yeah, so he's kind of doing a crossover with the horrible goose in 40K. Starting with the goose taking Abaddon's demon sword, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce it because I don't really know what it was. And so he's been just doing each day another thing with the goose, doing something funny or associated with the 40K universe, and it's funny. It's a good crossover.
Yeah, it's funny. So resurrecting Necrons with one of the little resurrection orbs. How did he get that? He stole coat of Creed from the Cadian Guard, and he's smoking too. He's making fun of Abaddon after stealing the sword.
Yeah, it's funny, and he even made a funny little model.
Yeah, I think he got like a little plastic goose and took the plastic sword from the Abaddon model and made the goose carrying it. And the funny thing is, it's like, you know what, this is actually a great use for that sword, because what else could you use it for? Nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely. One of his most recent Goose pictures is my favorite. With the goose standing in a doorway with its darkened silhouette.
Its ominous silhouette with also like
with
kind of glowing eyes. Yeah, no, Lifeboat. It's great. The Goose is great, and yeah, as I already said, yeah, if you have the opportunity to play the game in any form, it's wonderful. Well, hell, even just watching it being played is great.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, no, I understand Lifeboat. It's a good Warhammer model.
He also looks like he stole one of Drazar's weapons. It happens. Even the Phoenix Lords and stuff can get careless now and again.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh,
it's true.
It just happens.
So follow Cordell on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
See his
great
comparison. For that matter, he makes great models too, which we've already talked about his models on this stream before. But he's great.
Mm-hmm. Neil, I thank you for putting the name of his sword in there. I'm still not going to try to pronounce it. And if anyone wants to know more about that sword, you should read what is it called? It's one of Aaron Dembski Bowden's Horus Heresy novels.
Would you like to know more? I'm doing my part too.
Yeah, what is even that novel called? It's the one with the Emperor in it. It's a generic name. I don't remember. Well, it doesn't matter.
I obviously didn't read it. Maybe maybe we can call it a day. It's already past midnight over here.
Yeah, no, I guess we probably could. We complained about models. We did what we had to. Talked about the stuff we're doing. I mean, I guess, does anyone have any questions for us before we wrap it up? If you were going to draw the Goose, Adam, what would you draw the Goose doing?
Yeah, I should actually think about that and try and draw at least one.
I think it would be fun. The one that was thinking about that I thought it would be funny. I thought it would be great if he stole one of the Blood Angel blood chalices and had it in his mouth, and all the blood of the
blood.
All over the floor. Just thought that would be funny and very disrespectful to the Blood Angel culture.
Yeah, that would be funny.
Goose on the Golden Throne. That's a good thought.
That is a good thought.
But what does the Golden Throne even look like?
Yeah.
Because it's often talked about that Blanche's Golden Throne thing is not the Golden Throne, and that's just an artifice in front of the throne, after the Gates of Eternity and stuff. Yeah, now there's certainly that classic John's classic art, but yeah, I feel John has talked about it, and lots of people have talked about how that's not actually what it looks like, and that's just some artifact or something maybe After the Gates of Eternity or something. Or, I mean, I guess towards that end, I feel that's one of those things that's sort of up to interpretation. Like, maybe that's real, maybe it's not, and sort of the mystery surrounding that is part of the fun about it.
Yeah. Oh, actually, Dave, thanks for watching. Actually coming and watching the stream. Glad you were able to be a part of at least one of them. Hopefully, you can see more of them in the future.
Yeah, no, it's always good to see people. But yeah, I guess Tim Malloy, who
It's
is
like finding out Santa isn't real.
yeah, Tim Malloy, who's like one of their archive specialists, or I don't know. He was on the Warhammer community stream a couple times. I think he also did one of the Voxcast podcast sort of interviews. I think he might have talked about it a little bit in there too.
Yeah.
One, because didn't John also do an illustration of it, like an old illustration of that, where his face wasn't a skull?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
And then he did a very similar one, but it is a skull.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been a while ago. I feel that existed, but it's been a while since I've seen that illustration, so.
There's always more stuff to learn, Dave.
Yeah, it's true.
And we're certainly continuing to learn pretty much every day, every year, trying to expand what we're
doing
I think and how we're doing the stuff.
Instagram is certainly a great way to kind of get to see other people, the stuff they're doing, and get to know people. And it's nice that there's even like a little messenger thing associated with it too. That like if people are posting on there, like there's a good chance that you could contact them through that, and they would actually see it. And so in that sense, it's even a good way to connect with people, as well as just follow the work they're doing and such. Which actually, towards that end, do people follow hashtags on Instagram?
I don't.
Or do they just follow people?
I only follow people.
That's all I do too, but.
Yeah, I only follow people.
But I feel.
Because I guess, I was always more interested in finding new people who are doing cool and interesting things. And then I'm interested to see what they're doing, not just in general. I guess if you followed hashtags, you might be able to find more people and newer stuff.
Yeah, so I feel that's why it's somewhat considered starting to follow some, just because, like Vox, like things like hashtagging 28 seems like it wouldn't be a terrible thing.
Yeah. Dave says, I like the bashing aspect as well as the dark grim Mordheim 2019. Yeah, I'm really happy that I've actually been able to do some stuff with Mordheim. Because now that I've actually played the game, and had a chance to do stuff with it, I really like it. And I think we'll continue to play it now and again. And hopefully there'll be more and more time-focused events and stuff at different locations, which I guess Cordal, which we just talked about, is artwork with the Goose. He, I think, sometime in the future is going to be holding a Mordheim event in the UK. So that's something to look into too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, maybe I'll start to follow some of the more obvious hashtags.
Yeah.
I think also for stuff like, Mordheim 2019, I know the Galita, there's a Galita hashtag that I think had a fair amount of posts and such. So, I think for some of these larger, like, narrative event things, it could be kind of a nice way to sort of see what people are doing associated with it.
Oakland, California. I was in San Diego for a number of years. California's a big place.
It's
Lots of
true.
neat areas, though. Lots of national parks and stuff. Like, yeah, no, it is a lifeboat. Yeah, you're out in California too, from what I understand. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there. Yeah, like one thing that I found was interesting, like spending more time out further west in the United States, there are a lot more national parks and other stuff to like visit and see. Whereas on the East Coast and the further you go east, there still are national parks and stuff, but not nearly as many, and particularly not ones that are like well lauded and talked about in like common
Mm-hmm.
knowledge. Oh, Mattel. That's interesting. That's cool.
Yeah, it is neat.
And that's another thing that I always am sort of really like about uh, this hobby in general. Like, there's a huge diversity in like the different people and such, and like what everyone's doing. Like the three of us, we're all largely focused around like biology and doing like actual scientific research and stuff, and but like we've met so many people now over the years that all kind of have their own different thing, and it's interesting to hear like some of that stuff you can often see in like the work and the
Mm-hmm.
models and stuff that they do and work on. So I think it can add a lot of different perspective.
Miserable biology.
Like, he has power tonight, I'm guessing. LOL. Yeah, so I guess the wildfires and stuff are still raging out in California. When I in San Diego, I guess I was far enough south that the wildfires didn't really affect me. I do remember a few times when the wildfires got really close to like LA and stuff. Like that was about the extent of like sometimes if you looked far north, you could kind of see maybe it looked like cloudier or something from all the smoke and stuff, but not much.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, San Diego is a lot of. I mean, I guess all of the like the different University of California, all the different UCs, they all have a huge like research component and stuff.
San Diego, I feel in particular, has a huge biotech kind of
Yeah, that's
market
true.
there, one of the largest.
Yeah,
I guess San Francisco too,
yeah, all of that
and
stuff.
Boston. But yeah, well,
Yeah. Hmm.
I guess is there anything else we want to talk about?
I'm good. Thank you all for joining in.
Sure, we don't want to
Yeah.
talk about the Hellblaster models a little bit more.
No, we don't need to talk about that. Yeah, no, from what all I gathered, the fires were awful last year, and like, yeah, I was for like I remember some of the different like videos and stuff were like horrifying. People like driving through like infernos and stuff. It's bad. Eli. I mean, I love Hellblasters. Eli, we want to see more of these Hellblasters. Post them on your Instagram. We want to see them. We want
Build
to
them
see what
all.
you're doing with them or not doing with them. If you're not doing anything with them, just show pictures of the sprues.
So, but that's probably hard because they're probably all mixed over in the sprues. Like, it's not just obvious that these are the Hellblaster models.
That's probably true.
Because that's how, in an effort to conserve space and have as little sprues as possible. They're so cram packed with the different random pieces that it's not as easy.
All right, everybody. Thanks again for joining us. If you have any other questions or thoughts, don't hesitate to contact us through either Instagram, through the blogs, email address, etc. We're happy to talk, happy to give suggestions, etc.
That's true.
So until next time, keep on enjoying the hobby. And get out there, play some games.
It's true.
It was fun.
Talk to you all later.
Mm-hmm.
See ya.